Thanks.
Come on, you team!
Blow whistle. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month 1918, the guns stopped firing on the Western Front. That signalled the end of the First World War. Since that time, at 11 o'clock on the 11th of November, there have been 2 minutes silence. In keeping with clubs around the country now, we're going to have 2 minutes silence. At the setting of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Nice tree.
Come through lovely.
It's a very good afternoon to all of our listeners and watchers today from Thurrock Oakfield as Thurrock take on Woodford. Of course, is Remembrance Weekend. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Fittingly, we started today with 2 minutes of silence. As rugby clubs are observing up and down the country this weekend, it's particularly pertinent that Thurrock are playing Woodford, because Woodford is one of the most famous clubs in the country, famous for one of the most decorated officers in the British Army, Sir Douglas Kendrew, who of course played two games for England whilst at Woodford before moving to Leicester and becoming a British Lion. So Thurrock in their traditional black and white this afternoon. And Thurrock have Callum Pluck at fullback, Kai Holloway, who scored 4 tries last week, on the right wing, Niall Clifford, who is the vice captain in the centre with Henry Bird, Ahmed Aminu at 11, Dan Stone, Ed Stevens form the half-back combination for the second week. Thurrock have a great opportunity to open the scoring, but have knocked on close to the line, so just interrupt the teams for the moment. And it looks as if Owen Chance has broken away. He's been chased down by Dan Stone. Dan Stone has managed to catch him, but that's a really good bit of support play. And amazingly, Thurrock have snatched from the jaws of attack a bit of an opportunity missed, and subsequently Woodford have gone the length of the field and scored a try. Good breakout by James White. I'll go back to the team. Dan Stone, Ed Stevens at halfback, Frank Wright, Aaron Antrobus and Lawrence Brown form the front row. Jay Jennings is back in the second row this week with James Roger. Caelan Watts-Adams moves to number 6. Dan Ulf is at 7, and Ben Timpson the captain at 8. Alex Jones, Andy McAllister and Tom Wildman are on the bench today. The referee is Mr. Matthew Horn from the Lund Society. He had to do a lot of work then to keep up with play, going from one to the other. It's at least 200 metres he had to sprint. And I'm with the delightful Gabriella Diana this afternoon, who's my co-commentator, and she will tell you about the Woodford team.
Good afternoon. So today, currently we have, I believe there's Alexander Meads taking the conversion. Unfortunately, that was just a miss. So today at 1 we have William Pryor, 2 Jordan Knight, 3 William Cooper Rendu, 4 Charles Simpson, 5 George Hughes, 6 Sal Ratton, who is vice captain for today, 7 Henry Maguire Cox, 8 Fraser Piercy Farley, 9 scrum half Daniel Fox, 10 Alexander Meads, 11 Ryan McConneville, 12 Ian Meads captain for today, 13 Kenan Brown, 14 James White and 15 Owen Chance, and then the substitutes Oliver Bird, Michael Chamberlain and Josiah Ferrari.
So once again Thurrock attack has broken down, and Woodford managed to get the ball away. When Thurrock regained possession, the referee went back, Matthew Horn, to an early infringement, a penalty to Woodford. So we extend a warm welcome this afternoon to our friends from the ancient parish of Woodford, just 8 miles from the City of London. Its boundaries run through Epping Forest. It's had a thriving rugby club since 1924. A community-based club, it prides itself on a long and proud history. The development of the railways brought the rugby club into the range of middle-class city workers. It has on its doorstep one of England's greatest public schools, Bancroft. In fact, it was Old Bancroftians that Thurrock played their first Essex Cup final, defeating Chelmsford with the famous Andy Hancock just 50 years ago. Thurrock and Woodford played each other several times in the Essex and Eastern Counties Cups, especially in the finals. And in 1981, Thurrock defeated Woodford in the final of the Essex Cup, and a week later they won the Eastern Counties Cup at Woodford, before going on to play Exeter in the John Player Cup. The following year, Woodford won the contest at Southend, and so they've shared honours over the years. Now there's been an interception from Kai Holloway, and Kai Holloway is going to equalise to carry on where he left off last week. 4 tries last week. had everybody scurrying for the record books to see who the last time a Thurrock player scored 4 tries in a game. It wasn't too difficult, of course, because the fabulous Michael Stanley managed that feat 3 times a decade ago, just before going off to play for Samoa in the World Cup of 2015, which was, of course, held in England, played against South Africa. And Kai Holloway is up there amongst the top try scorers in a long parthenon of Thurrock wingers who've achieved that feat. And we look back at the days of Ivan Whittle, Dennis Stone, Trevor Burge, Mick Marmion, and a whole host of others, Graham Davis amongst them. So it's good afternoon to all our friends around the globe, to Paul Stevens out there in Singapore, to Brian Davis, Bob Williams and the Henderson family in Wales, and our friends in Absley who are still going strong and still undefeated. And it's good afternoon to Mercedes and Jenny in the Cayman Islands. These two would have been very disappointed with the England result this morning. A bit more about that half-time. But we wish them all the best, and don't forget that Thurrock ladies are playing Blackheath tomorrow, and Gabriella will be doing the commentary with Bradley. Well, what do you think of that interception?
I think that was a fantastic interception. Thurrock seemed to be doing quite well at finding the slight slip-ups in Woodford's attack.
Blowing in the wind.
Good to see Alan Harding and Peter Worsfold in the grandstand this afternoon. Worsfold had fine Saracens. There's been a mistake from kickoff, and once again we're close to a try. Certainly a litany of errors so far in this game. Perhaps it was the 2-minute silence at the start, but neither side seems to have settled down so far.
Yes, that was quite a mistake on both sides there. I believe Woodford thought they'd got that try as he managed to get his hand on the ball, but I believe the ref thought that it was uncontrolled due to it just being sort of a smackdown, not held. But Thurrock kick off again, quite straight into the hands of Woodford's wing. Oh, and a very heavy hit.
And we're all waiting with bated breath, hoping that isn't high and not deliberately high. There seemed to be a bit of a collision. We're all horrified this morning after 18 minutes, of course, when Lydia Thompson was sent off. Hopefully the Woodford player will recover quite quickly. So while we have that delay, we'll just reflect on the World Cup final this morning. Lydia Thompson given a red card after 18 minutes. It just changed the course of the game. England was still very strong and fought bravely throughout. And when New Zealand eventually had a yellow card, they did manage to get into the lead and stay in the lead for long periods. Then with the last play of the game, England had a great chance to win the game, opted for a line-out from the penalty, and were beaten at the front. Possibly they should have tapped and then had a driving maul, but ceased to be wise after the event. Sad for England, but absolutely wonderful for the Southern Hemisphere. A packed 45,000 Eden Park meant that rugby has really taken off for ladies, and so that should always be the case. And it was great for the game of rugby to get more and more people involved in it. And of course, the league season starts next week for the ladies in the Premiership, and Thurrock are already playing in the Championship, and tomorrow they play Blackheath. And so I'm sorry if I've told you the result and the score and what happened in the game, because it was so early in this morning that many of you will not have seen it. But yes, I apologise. So it's quite a long session there with the injury. He's sitting up, and so I'm not sure whether it's a leg injury or a head injury. I don't think the referee is taking any punitive action on the Thurrock player, which would be good if that is the case, because it did appear to be an accident. And in fact, it was a complete accident, a collision, and it's led to Woodford having an attacking scrum. So Woodford have Jordan Knight as their hooker and William Cooper Rendu as the tight head prop, and William Pryor on the loose head. Thurrock have a formidable unit of Aaron Antrobus, Frank Wright and Lawrence Brown in the front row. Ross Boschier, the former Thurrock second row, is the director of rugby at Woodford, and he will have really drilled them in the scrum. That was another penalty. Ed Stevens tried to get between the scrum half and the fly half and knocked the ball forward. It's good to see the referee acting with a degree of decorum and not sending anybody off for that offence.
Yes, I think Thurrock are quite into looking at the gaps between each player in Woodford's attack, as there seem to be quite a few long passes, and Thurrock are managing to just intercept the pass before it gets to the second player. It's a brilliant form of defence, really. A very quick way to keep attacking Woodford's line.
It's a great long line out for Woodford. It goes right to the back. They've wheeled back towards the touchline. As suggested earlier, Ross Boschier has got them pretty well drilled. Thurrock have come into this on the back of 2 victories, and this has been a slow start for them. Again, looks as if the ball has been held up over the line, and so we go back to the dropout. Woodford, of course, a famous place with some great people having been born there and lived there, and amongst his famous members of Parliament were none other than Sir Winston Churchill, one of the greatest ever, and of course T. Lawrence of Arabia, and the current member of Parliament is Ian Duncan Smith, former leader of the Conservative Party. So Thurrock go long from the dropout, gives Woodford a chance to counter-attack. Henry Bird manages to get a hand on the Ian Brown, who's the centre. Jay Jennings, an all-embracing tackle from the young man with the long hair. That's gone ricocheting forward. It's given Danoff a chance to pick up in the middle of the field. He's making good headway there. Normally a hooker, playing in the back row at the moment. Good yardage from him. Callum Plucker's come into the line. He's fed out to the left there, where Ahmed Aminu is in. In contention, received the pass, I was about to say. That has gone to touch. That has afforded Jordan Knight the opportunity to throw in for Woodford. Woodford had some famous players in the past, including internationals. I mentioned Sir Douglas Kendrew, one of the most decorated people in the British Army of all time. And he had the 2 games for England whilst at Woodford before moving to Leicester and becoming a British Lion. And one of their great players is somebody called Jerry Janes, GT Janes. He was actually, it's a great break in the middle of the field. He was showing real pace there. It's a terrific try. I think that's Ryan McConville. It could be Lane Meads. But he certainly showed a fine turn of pace there. He's gone on the outside and managed to beat Ahmed Aminu, who's coming across the field. The young man certainly has some pace. I think that's Ian Brown, actually. Sorry about the misidentification, but tremendous turn of pace from Ian Brown. Conversion has sailed wide once again. So it's Thurrock 7 and Woodford 10. So an Aerostream game initially, and certainly would have some pace outside, and they've taken advantage of that. When they've had the opportunity, they've got away. That was a splendid try from Ian Brown. I was talking about Jerry Janes. Well, he was famous because his wife was none other than Christine Truman, who became Christine Janes. Christine Truman was a Wimbledon runner-up in 1961. She won the French Open in 1959, was runner-up in the US Open. She was the darling of British tennis for many years. She was the Sue Barker of the 60s. So Woodford is a famous old club with a lot of really good people there. In the 70s, in the playing days, some of their great players were Sergio Solari and Tony Hill, a winger and a fly half. And I believe Tony Hill is still involved in the club. Standing kick from Alexander Meads has pushed play deep into Thurrock's 22, but they have lost that line, and Thurrock through Caelan Watts-Adams have managed to stretch out a hand and get the ball back. And it's gone back to Dan Stone, who clears his lines. Dan Stone, the former Campion fly half, did well to orchestrate the attack in those days, just 6 or 7 years ago. Went on tour to Australia with Campion. Danolf, another Campion boy, alongside a young man called Finley Wood. Those days now plays scrum half for Palmers. Malachi Watts-Adams was hoping to play for the A team today, but unfortunately he's got an injury. Once again, the gaps have opened up. And Woodford have run away with another try. Again, a real piece of loose play. The gaps open like the Red Sea. And so showing a fine turn of pace. The Woodford centre, Lane Meads, who is the captain, arced through and scored what was quite a simple try in the end.
Come on, Chase! Wake your ideas up!
This has been a very loose start from Thurrock, and the defence has become a little deconstructed. But that's a much better kick. And that's Alexander Meads, who has now got his range. And that is Woodford 17, Thurrock 7. Thurrock without one or two players again today. And notably Rhys Cotter, the full-back. Fortuitously, that falls Woodford's way as well. Seem to have been having a lot of luck with the loose balls. There's a fine kicking game we have there. This time, now Clifford, the vice captain, has dropped back. Decides to feed the ball out to Ben Timpson, the captain. Aaron Antrobus, trying to bring a little structure to the game. Okay, and Watts-Adams in the middle of the field. He runs hard, throws a dummy. As his jumper pulled over his head, Dan Stone, Henry Bird drops the ball, but he managed to get a boot to it. But the referee judges that it has gone forward. A little better from Thurrock, but the ball did go to ground at the crucial moment. So what do you think is going wrong, Gabby?
To be quite honest, I think Thurrock are playing quite well. It's just unfortunately those small mistakes that are down to a pass being too far in front or just possibly not being able to keep up with the speed of the play. But I don't think they're particularly doing quite badly, although the scrums feel like they panicked a bit on the last one with not being able to keep their footing, which obviously is a main part of the game for the forwards.
Absolutely splendid conditions here again. Oakfield's been warm this week and wet. Good grass growing conditions suit Clive Byrne and Roger White and the ground staff. This time now Clifford manages to knock back his opposite number in midfield. This time it's Ian Brown with a kick, and he's found grass there and has bounced the ball to the touch. Luckily for Thurrock, it's not a 50-22. I'm not quite sure what the touch judge is doing there with his flag holding in the right hand, point towards the Woodford end. He's now changed it. Of course, there's a Thurrock line out. Lawrence Brown doing the honours. It's a great leap from Caelan Watts-Adams. Che Jennings was quite supreme in the round last week in the win against Stowmarket. Eddie Stevens scored a trademark try last week. This time the box kick goes high, it's well taken, comes out the full back, and once again it's a dummy thrown. This time Dan Stone knows to get his man. It looks as if Woodford are getting the width on Thurrock, and this is quite an unbelievable start. They seem to make the extra man every time they get the ball out wide. They've seriously spotted a weakness here. So Woodford sprint into a long lead. It's currently 22-7 with the conversion to come. And I think that time it was Lane Meads again. Sprinting clear. So Thurrock at 6 and 7s at the moment, and obviously they need to get together and decide what is going on. Another good conversion. Hits the new buildings behind the posts. So it's 24 points to 7. Thurrock really haven't got into this game yet. We tried to say this was against the run of play, but it's been all Woodford so far. Good attempt by Eddie Stevens to win the kickoff. He has lost it, and Woodford once again almost playing barbarian rugby. Barbarians actually play New Zealand tomorrow. Clifford taking a perfect position there to take that ball. Takes the ball back beautifully, just gets sport in time. Eddie Stevens looks around the blind side for the gap. Aaron Antrobus takes the ball on. James Roger, Thurrock trying to bring their forwards into the game. That's excellent work from the Woodford open side. Henry Maguire-Cox, he was looking for that turnover on 2 or 3 occasions then. eventually effected it. And now Clifford has taken a bit of a knock. I don't know whether this situation is a result of so many changes over the last few weeks and lack of continuity.
To be quite honest, I feel like it is just a bit of mixed play today. Thurrock are struggling to get a straight line in their defence and all quite huddled, which I think is what has allowed people to sort of go, oh, someone else will tackle them, and Woodford are running straight through the middle. They seem to be doing the same plays and it seems to be working against Thurrock's defence, which is unfortunate. But hopefully they realise this as their scrum improved quite a lot on the last one. So hopefully they'll continue to improve throughout the game, and it's still a winnable game for Thurrock. So hopefully they'll bring it back.
There's certainly a long way to go, and Woodford are good value for their lead so far. They've been extremely enterprising and innovative, and they've seen the gaps and they've taken them. So great work by the Woodford open side. He was looking for that turnover and he managed to turn it over and get the penalty. So that's Lane Meads kicking the ball there, the captain, into the corner. It's not Alexander Meads. It's obviously his brother. Thurrock have 3 sets of brothers in the club. Unfortunately, not one set is playing today. Thurrock have won that one. Got a hand to it. Henry Bird has to go to ground in the middle of the field. Ball has been knocked on the process, which will give Woodford an attacking scrum. There's been a vice president's lunch today, so there's a big crowd here at Thurrock Oakfield. A splendid afternoon in early autumn. Woodford managed to get a bit of a drive on the scrum. Means they have an opportunity as a dummy in the middle of the field. Number 8 has been taken to ground. That's Fraser Piercy Farley. Another lovely little chip ahead there has given Woodford yet another try. The refs decide that was grounded fairly. And the kick through is a variation in tactics. Once again, I believe that is Lane Meads in the centre of the park. Captain, having a field day. Our coaches must be besides themselves. This has been a strange performance, to say the least. Woodford have managed to open up Thurrock at will. And, they now lead by 29 points to 7. As Gabriel was saying, it's still a winnable game. A lot can change. There's a very long way to go. This has been a most disappointing start for Thurrock. Thurrock have made a bit of a tactical switch. They've moved now Clifford back to a familiar position of full-back, which means that Callum Pluck has come into the centre. Thurrock feeds Kai Holloway on the outside. This man is looking for work here yet again. He's bottled up this time. He tries to get the ball back. Thurrock have lost possession, but they've regathered. Eddie Stevens takes Jay Jennings to the blind side. He attempts to bring a bit of structure. Dan Stone takes that. Captain Ben Timpson now goes on the outside. Comes inside, fields now Clifford. Just as Thurrock have the opportunity to break clear, the referee has seen a forward pass. We don't have a TMO to verify it, but we'll have to accept that was a forward pass. A shame, because the first time Thurrock have really got into their stride. Good bit of captaincy leading from the front by Ben Timpson. On this scrum now, Clifford has gone back into the centre. The scrums have been fairly even so far. I think on that occasion Woodford went early, trying to get the early nudge in. It's a free kick to Thurrock. And Thurrock elect take the scrum again. Seems a strange decision. I guess they were faced with the same choice as England this morning. They could have taken the tap and got the ball moving quickly. Something England's men failed to do last week. I couldn't understand why Manu Tuolangi and every back was going forward to congratulate Ellis Genge and Kyle Sinclair when they should have been working for a quick tap and go. So Thurrock took the scrum, but Woodford won the scrum. So all the congratulations go to the Woodford forwards, which magnifies the decision to actually take a scrum rather than a quick tap.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't think that was the right call for Thurrock. They've been dominating the line-outs quite well for the last few, and Woodford have a very strong side in the scrum. That was just an unfortunate call that hopefully they'll learn from if they get the option again.
Powerful work from William Cooper Rendu, the tight head. Disrupted the Thurrock scrummage and start to go backwards. And Thurrock trying to change the game up a little by making some tactical changes. Tom Wildman has come onto the field and Andy McAllister. Andy McAllister, fairly new to the game, but a lethal tackler. Does weaken Thurrock in the liners a little.
Come on, boys, get in there. Go!
This time Woodford tried to go down the middle before coming wide again. Thurrock managed to make a tackle. It took them a long time, but they did force the captain of Woodford into touch in the corner. I guess this is an attempt by the Thurrock coaches to shake things up a little by making those changes so early. Perhaps bring a little more aggression to the play. So the Woodford player down injured. Thurrock deep in trouble once again in their own line. As that man Meads again, causing havoc in the Thurrock back line. Dan Stone had to come across and use his pace to lay a finger on him. It looks as if the captain as well has something of a limp. as Lane means. What can Thurrock do to break out this stranglehold?
Well, I believe again, I think it is the formation that they're taking in defence. Woodford have got very good formation, and on both sides there in attack they had at least a 3-man overlap, which obviously is quite crucial in a game of rugby because it gives you plenty of room to run. And as we've just seen, if that Woodford player had offloaded it a little bit earlier and the second player jinked inside, they quite easily could have got that try then. But hopefully with the new players coming on for Thurrock, you might, as you said, shake it up a little bit, as that was a fantastic tackle put in by, I believe, Tom Wildman. It's a fantastic tackle, and hopefully there'll be more of them. So I believe both teams are struggling to get down low enough to the legs to make a stopping tackle this game, which is unfortunate.
Yes, there have been very few dominant tackles, we must say that, from either side. Good to see some youngsters in the stand today. What do you think of the experience? Do you like it here?
Yes, pretty good game.
Are you a Thurrock supporter or Woodford?
Thurrock.
Thurrock supporter. Good to see you. It was good to see young people. Which school do you go to?
Little William Edwards.
William Edwards. That's a good old school. William Edwards is one of the best schools in the country. One of the best schools in the world, I would say. Although I'm a bit biased.
And, unfortunately, we still have the injury at the moment of Woodford. Hopefully it won't be much longer. I believe it is just strapping around the knee. Quite an annoying injury to have mid-game on a rugby pitch. It can be quite an annoyance after. But it looks like he's back up and ready to carry on, which is fantastic.
A half-dozen young spectators from William Edwards School, local school, part of the South West Essex Community Education Trust, which is doing such great work at Thurrock at the moment. Ball is fed back to Henry Bird. He smashes the ball upfield, reaches the 10-metre line. Has given Woodford another chance to run back at Thurrock. This time they kick ahead, and it gives Danolf a chance to make the mark. Danolf, although he really is a hooker, is perfectly capable of kicking the ball into touch himself. Instead he taps and gives it to Henry Bird. Henry Bird has another go. It's a rifling kick. It's been dropped by the fly half, but it has gone backwards. Alexander Meads, and now the ball has gone straight to touch. So a good bit of play from Danolf. Took the sting out of the attack from Woodford. They opted to kick for once. Although in fairness, their kicking has been a good option attack for them. Brought a couple of tries. I think the issue is now Thurrock are throwing in, but their line options have changed a little with Kane and Watts-Adams leaving the field. Thurrock electing to come into the line-out late. Also, they've got something up their sleeves here. It says go to James Rogers at the front. He can't gather that. Tom Wildman manages to pick up the pieces for Thurrock in the middle of the park. Henry Bird. Jay Jennings on the short ball. Always looking for work. He's been held up at the moment. Does manage to get to ground eventually. And Thurrock do recycle. Ben Timpson has no choice. Runs into his own player. Kai Holloway gets the ball on the outside. The referee seems to think that's all right. Matthew Horn. Danolf carrying. Jay Jennings again. This time he feeds out. Thurrock get the ball wide. Comes out to Callum Pluck. There's a bit of a chance on the outside, a sidestep. Good to see the young man get into the game at last. Di McAllister. Henry Bird. Ben Timpson the line. Kai Holloway sidesteps inside. He's put to ground. This is better, a bit more consistent from Thurrock. Dan Stone has come inside, sidestepping away. Woodford give away a penalty. This is a free ball. Jay Jennings throws a dummy. Couldn't see the big man throwing a dummy. Dan Stone. Dan Stone puts now Clifton. Great late run from the Ulster man. Released by Dan Stone, manages to put now Clifford under the posts. A much better patch of play from Thurrock. They should have started in that fashion. They wouldn't be in this predicament. So there's Woodford 29, Thurrock 12 at the moment with a conversion to follow. And we're quite close to half-time. I should think Martin Jones and Dave Stevens, the coaching staff, will want to get Thurrock back in the sheds as quickly as possible. It was quite frenetic start, and Thurrock found themselves in all sorts of difficulty right from the off. Woodford were able to expose them on the outside. It seems as if Thurrock's defence was far too compact in the middle of the field. Woodford went laterally. They managed to expose Thurrock on the outside time after time and scored a hatful of tries before Thurrock could get into the game. Now Thurrock have begun to put a bit of structure on the game. They have come back into it strongly. It's now 29-14. One suspects as ever the next score is going to be very, very important.
Yes, I think that was absolutely fantastic from Thurrock. They've found a strategy in the game that seems to be working, which is shifting the ball quick and having a very excellent formation. Obviously, a ball moves faster than a human, so it's the best game of play they could have done there to finally get another try and a fantastic conversion by Dan Stone.
Again, that's an incredible run from outside to in, over 70 metres across the field. That's put Thurrock in all sorts of trouble, and once again Woodford have regained the initiative, and that's Ian Brown with yet another try. But the damage was done by a coruscating run across the field. He must have gone 70 or 80 metres, most of which was across the field, accelerating past Thurrock player after Thurrock player. Wonders why Woodford have been in this predicament at the lower end of the table, because they've been playing some really exciting rugby and they have some very talented players. So it's Ian Brown again with a try, and the damage done by McConville and James White and Lane Meads. The conversion attempt just goes to the right of the uprights. So it's Thurrock 14, Woodford 34, the deficit being 20 points. 21 points is possible, of course, with 3 converted tries. That's what Thurrock must work with now. The go-to mode of coaches is to look at the next 5 minutes, play 5 minutes at a time. That's what Thurrock has got to do now. It's well taken by Charles Simpson in the second row. Well supported by Charles Hughes. Scrum half Dan Fox goes for the box kick. Thurrock have knocked on. and given Woodford yet another advantage. It's almost like a barbarian game, right? Almost like sevens. That was Callum Pluck just about managing to make the tackle, but Thurrock have been penalised, so Woodford have the advantage. So a nice little chip through. Luckily Dan Stone was alert to that, but Woodford now come back for the penalty. Quite frankly, I've rarely seen so many errors in one game. It's only half time. Gabriella Diana here is exasperated, trying to be an independent, unbiased commentator. She is struggling with that.
Yes, I am struggling. I know what a fantastic team the men's first team can be. They showed it last week at a fantastic game against, I believe, Stowmarket. They are a very strong side, but unfortunately they don't seem to have brought their rugby heads with them today. But the running alongside is getting quite difficult. Clearly Woodford have a lot of fast players. The hits need to be made as soon as possible, but they're doing well to support each other at least.
It's almost like sevens, isn't it? You want to make your tackles early. You don't want to spend all your life chasing people across the field. They might be faster than you. So you make your hits early. Don't expend too much energy. Of course, that blitz defence does need organisation, otherwise gaps appear. So Woodford go to the tried and trusted. Again, they've got a penalty, so they have a free hit. This time they go for the long crossfield kick. Referee has seen some dissent, I believe, and he's had a word with one of the Thurrock players. I'm not sure. So it's good afternoon to Marco Diana, the cameraman this afternoon. Again, a completely independent, unbiased supporter of Thurrock. Sorry, cameraman for Thurrock. This time there's been a really good tackle in the middle of the field. And they managed to stop Ian Brown in his tracks that time. Woodford is so much better when they work the ball outside. That time they went for a move in the middle of the field and they were knocked back, and that is the half-time whistle Thurrock have been longing for I would say the last 20 minutes, so the coaches can get together and try and reorganise this Thurrock team. Goodness knows what has been going on. So Niall Clifford leads the troops marching back. They're going to stay out Thurrock. Sure, they're about to be read the Riot Act. Well, we're in the midst of the autumn series, and today England play Japan, and we won't let you enjoy anything that's happening there. Of course, Wales play Argentina later on today. It's been a fascinating autumn series, and all the plaudits have to go to Ireland, who cement their position as the world's #1 team by defeating South Africa last week. Wales, on the other hand, were swamped by the New Zealand All Blacks. And it's interesting to look at the contrast between the teams. The Irish forwards are not gung-ho, they're completely structured, they tackle, they carry very hard. Their props are outstanding players who make dominant tackles, they win turnovers. Their back row with people like Josh van der Fleer, outstanding. They always take the game to the opposition. And as you know, South Africa are noted for their power up front, yet the Irish managed to use pace and power to win that game. By contrast, Wales struggle against the All Blacks. Their front row struggled in terms of carrying, the back row struggled in terms of making dominant tackles. If you take, for example, Justin Tipuric, the Welsh captain, he made over 23 tackles, but not one was a dominant tackle. Wales did not make one turnover in the whole game. I was bemused by the English tactics. They probably would have been better off making the game quicker. Yet as soon as Jack Van Portfleet came onto the field, he scored that wonderful solid try, outpacing everybody else. It seemed to me England were content with set piece. And when Ellis Genge and Carl Sinclair won a scrum, every back, including Manu Tuolangi, went to congratulate them, to give a lot of high fives, tap them on the shoulder. Instead, they should have been lining up outside for a quick tap and moving the ball wide. Very much the way Woodford have done this afternoon. They've seen every opportunity to go wide, and they've taken that opportunity. And they really have run havoc during the first half. And they thoroughly deserve their lead at the moment. And that's 34 points to 14, 20 points. So Gabriella now make her summary of what's happened this first half.
To be quite honest, it's definitely been an interesting game. Woodford have done very well to pick apart Thurrock's defence with finding the weak spots and the gaps, which you've got to congratulate them for. However, Thurrock famously love to bring it back in the second half when they seem to wake up, so that's what we're hoping for today. They are showing improvements at the end of that last half with a particularly fantastic tackle from, I believe it was Captain Ben Timpson, who managed to turn over the ball, but unfortunately the half-time was called. But definitely seeing some improvements, and hopefully they'll continue.
So in this autumn exchange between these two old sides who've been rivals for over 60 years, we're seeing now that the sun is setting, and it's been a splendid day at Thurrock Oakfield. So a little advertisement that Thurrock play Blackheath tomorrow, Thurrock ladies that is, and we're looking forward to an exciting game there as Thurrock try to climb up the table.
Yes, hopefully that should be a fantastic game tomorrow, as tomorrow, well, sorry, can't speak today, it will be another away game for us against Blackheath. Hopefully it will be a enjoyable game, as Thurrock have come off the back of, I believe, 2 wins now, and are climbing their way back up the table after not the most advantageous start, we'll say, but they're definitely climbing back up there. Unfortunately, the second game was cancelled against Southend tomorrow, which would have been a home game and has been moved to the new year. However, they should be playing away next week, and I believe we have a first team game as well, but I'll have to check when and where that is.
So we'll get the cameraman to show us around the ground a little, and if we look behind the post, you'll see the new classrooms there at Heath Academy, and you'll see up on the balcony there some famous old faces. I think we've got Keith Richards, Roger Jones, Graham Morris. There's Carl Napier-Rao there, who's come all the way from Wales to watch this game. As we scan around, you see the glorious expanse of Orsett in the corner. But I do have to tell you, the young man from Orsett, Richard Hughes, has written a song for England's Football World Cup attempt, and is being supported by the Jeff Astle Foundation for Dementia. And it's incumbent upon all of us to get behind that great cause. And we're scanning around now and looking towards the south, which would be down towards the river, down towards Southend. As we move completely around, just catch at the corner of the ground the new artificial grass pitch, which of course has been voted one of the top 6 artificial pitches in the whole country. So splendid facilities here at Thurrock. And the team is a very youthful team as they build towards the future. And perhaps explains why they haven't been quite as organised as they have in the past. But let's hope that they manage to put together a good performance in the second half. And we see Alex Jones coming across the field. Over 100 games for Thurrock. And unfortunately, that is not Alex Jones, that is Henry Bird. It looks as if his afternoon is done. It's unfortunate. Seems to be carrying an injury. And so Henry Bird has left the field for Thurrock. That will mean the introduction, I believe, of Alex Jones. I don't know whether Alex Jones will move to 10, which will put Dan Stone into full-back. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how that materialises. Good to see Scott Chitty there, the young man who's been injured and was trying to be a commentator but was ousted by Gabriele Diana. He's now the team manager and he has to do things like fill water bottles. I hope his brother Charlie's watching. He should be playing, of course. So it's a new start for Thurrock. They have to look at this as second half. They start again. And Thurrock will try to speed up the game. It's a high box kick. And it brought dilemma to the two Woodford defenders who went to catch it. The sun was just shining in their eyes. And maybe there was a factor in the first half we'd forgotten about. But as now, there are long shadows across the pitch. As Thurrock have got back into the game with a scrummage inside the Woodford half. Good afternoon to John Langley in Tewkesbury, Paul Stevens in Singapore. Slightly better scrum for Thurrock. There's a dummy at the base. This time Thurrock go wide. They bring Callum Pluck in. He's dummies inside and feeds Dan Stone. Dan Stone throws a pass, goes behind Ahmed Aminu. Aminu has no choice but to go to ground. Thurrock do have an advantage though for a high tackle. And Caleb Watts-Adams has come back onto the field, I see. Tom Wildman is still on the field in place of Aaron Antrobus. Now Clifford goes with his left foot to punch the ball to the 22, not into the 22. Possibly could have been a little bit more adventurous with that kick. Thurrock's line out. This one goes to the back to Caleb Watts-Adams, which he takes with ease. The young man has come back on the field. Thurrock driving the maul into the middle of the field. Ben Timpson is looking to control it. Thurrock are moving forward. Alex Jones has come to scrum half. Now Clifford goes crunching into the tackle. Thurrock win the ball quickly. Dan Stone feeds Aminu on the outside. He feeds the ball outside. Ball then comes inside. Just the last minute, Thurrock failed to capitalise. Would have won the ball back. A very cheeky little sidestep from the fly half, Alexander Meads. It's gone to Callum Pluck. Decides to have a run in the middle of the field. It's better from him. Thurrock have the ball. Alex Jones feels now Clifford. He looks to the outside. He puts Caleb Watts-Adams. Caleb Watts-Adams goes close. Was formerly a winger. Ben Timpson feeding James Roger. Thurrock still getting possession. Is very well picked up by Andy McAllister. Thurrock have another penalty for offside. They desperately need to try. They do have a free ball. Dummy is thrown. Thurrock are looking to recycle. And that's an excellent riposte from the poaching Alex Jones. Saw the opportunity that Eddie Stevens has seen over the last couple of weeks. Just the start Thurrock wanted. They've seemed to take closer order to events in the middle of the field, stop the supply of loose ball to Woodford, and subsequently they've put together a couple of passages of play which have allowed them to gain advantage, and then Alex Jones to throw the neat dummy and dive over. So it's 34 points to 19. The conversion to follow. Dan Stone puts that between the posts. 34-21.
That was a brilliant bit of play from Thurrock there. Absolutely brilliant. Honestly, not really got much to say on that. Like I said, it was an improvement from the first half. Just typical Thurrock waking up in the second half. Hopefully they can get another two, 3 tries and it'll be equal.
It was really set up by a fine driving run from Niall Clifford in the middle of the field. And once it set up the ruck in the middle of the field, they came to the left, recycled again, and eventually it was left for Alex Jones to throw the dummy and to dive over near the post. Dan Stone converted. And that's given the game a slightly better complexion as far as Thurrock are concerned. So with Alexander Meads, the fly half to kick off. It's a really good kick-off from him, but now Clifford is in control of that one. He's taken down by a beautiful tackle. It appeared to be a beautiful tackle, but it might appear he was still airborne at the time. As he was in mid-air as the tackle was made. So it's given Thurrock the opportunity to exit straight away. So Clifford takes this with his left foot. This time he spirals it. And the ball comes out, hence he misses the touch. Dan Stone takes that ball, feeds Clifford on the outside. He now goes for the long crossfield kick. And Kyle Holloway is able to put pressure on. That's good strategy from Thurrock. It does give them good ground. They've now moved deep into the Woodford half. So it looks as if the coaches have suggested that Thurrock use the wind in the second half, put the ball behind the dangerous Woodford runners and make their tackles on their terms. I think Thurrock need to get Ahmed Aminu into the game a bit more, give the young winger an opportunity to run freely. Thurrock contest that line out. Daniel Fox is in a bit of trouble there as he receives the ball, but he's managed to get himself together and win the ball back. I think it's been a Thurrock offside, and so Matthew Horn elects to give a penalty to Woodford. This game needs a little bit of tactical dissection on the field. Somebody needs to get hold of this game and perhaps influence it in a way which wasn't done the first half. If Thurrock can do that, they've got every chance of getting back into this match. This really needs players to get into the thinking brain to work out the tactics needed in order to nullify the Woodford attack, change the course of the outcome of this game. So Woodford have the throw in. Didn't look terribly straight, and no, the referee has given that line out to Thurrock. I do appreciate the applause when some team members do particularly well, and I understand the psychological advantages there. I just wish sometimes somebody would grab the game with the scruff of the neck and get on with it quickly while the opposition are looking. So Alex Jones now to feed the scrum. This time is a double switch, and now Clifford takes the ball in the middle of the field. It is good tackling by Woodford. Jay Jennings carries on. Alex Jones, Caelan Watts-Adams does well to hold on to that. Tom Wildman is left a little bit isolated. Thurrock arrive though in time. Watts-Adams feeds the ball out. James Roger in the middle of the field. It's a good run from the man from Hartlepool. Alex Jones now feeds Dan Stone the outside, gives Kyle Holloway a chance. He is well tackled. That's Ryan McConville. Gets his hands around the serial try scorer. Ben Timpson takes the ball on the burst. Caelan Watts-Adams throws a dummy. If he could just get his hands free, it would have been a big opportunity for Thurrock. There's Jay Jennings. Ball has gone back on Thurrock's side again. Wildman. Watts-Adams to help him over the gain line. Dan Stone. This time it's a charging run by Callum Pluck. But there has been a turnover. This time an illegal one. And Thurrock have a penalty. The Red Rose had a penalty, of course, in the last minute, and they could have used Emily Scout to kick that penalty to go into extra time, but Ing decided with just 14 players on the field that it would not be a good idea to go to extra time. Thurrock have decided that being 13 points behind this stage, they should go for the corner rather than take the 3 points. Good decision?
I think so. Obviously, they're doing quite well to push this half of the game. And they're persistent as ever, and obviously it's the points that they need, so all or nothing.
Good point, they are on the ascendant, and of course above all else they want a bonus point to start off with. So Thurrock have caught that in the line-out, they're driving it. It's a good collective attempt here to move forward. Now Ben Simpson has broken off. Dan Stone looking for opportunities. He feeds Ahmed Aminu. He's lost the ball and given Woodford their first chance to counter this half. Fortunately for Thurrock, they've knocked on as well, so we go back to the previous knock on. So a good move from Thurrock. It was just the final execution which let them down. Ahmed Aminu put into a little bit of space there. I suspect he's quite cold. He's been on the wing all day and hasn't done much service at all.
Yeah, the wing can get a little bit cold, a little bit lonely, but he's doing well to get back and support the 15, who is 15, Callum Pluck. He's seeing the gaps and he's seeing that obviously if Woodford get a fast runner, he needs support, and always better to have 2 men than 1 on the back line.
I think we'll have to call him Lala, Lonely Ahmed Aminu. So Woodford have a chance to relieve the pressure and once again influence the course of the game. Thurrock have been completely in control at the beginning of the second half and looked the more likely to score. On this occasion, Woodford have managed to gain the penalty and they will now clear their lines. There has been some excellent kicking from Ian Meads and Alexander Meads, the brothers in the Woodford team. At least I believe they're brothers. I have no confirmation of that, but I chance my arm. I should say with Christine Truman-like precision on the kick, being that famous lady of Woodford. And of course, Lawrence Arabia will be really good here now, because he's exactly what Thurrock needs. Because Lawrence of Arabia once said, 9/10 of tactics are certain. You can read about them in books. The irrational 10th is like the kingfisher flashing across the pool. And that is the test of generals. And that's now the test of Thurrock. Can they become like a kingfisher? Can they change the course of this game? Can one individual stand up and do something extraordinary? Fullback Callum Pluck came into the line with good effect and made the extra man. Ahmed Aminu, Lala, had to come inside. Nevertheless, he did it pretty effectively. Thurrock have the penalty. So now back on the attack. After a brief sortie into Thurrock half, Woodford now penned back. And that's a much better kick from Niall Clifford. Much more adventurous. Much closer to the Woodford line, giving them an opportunity from this attacking line out. It's Lawrence Brown to throw in. Will this go to the back or to the front?
They seem to be going back quite a lot, so hopefully they might change it up a bit and throw a bit of a curveball for Woodford, but looks like they're going middle this time. Nice small change up.
Caelan Watts-Adams, so Frank Wright, the prop, tight end prop, was broken off. He's knocked a few players off. Charging towards the line. Jay Jennings looks blind. And he has scored the try. To the delight of Thurrock and to my co-commentator.
That was a fantastic try and a brilliant break in the line to see there from Jay. I believe that is his third or fourth try of the season now. Absolutely fantastic eyes up.
The young man is still only 19, 20?
No, he's 20 now, 20 in September.
Just 20. Well, poor Alex Jones scrum half was looking for about 5 minutes to find somebody coming around the blind side. There's a great gap there. I'm surprised he didn't go by himself, score a try again, but eventually Jay Jennings noted the opportunity, shot around the blind side and crashed over. So that means a bonus point is secured for Thurrock. And they say rugby is a game of momentum. Certainly Thurrock have momentum at the moment. They're now being incumbent upon them to exit properly and get back on the attack as soon as possible. It's Thurrock 26, Woodford 34, Stone with a conversion. He failed to draw it across the post, so it's a 12 points difference as Woodford prepare to kick off. This has been the proverbial game of two halves, with Thurrock dominating the second half, much as Woodford did in the first half. Thurrock a lot more control, denying Woodford quite a lot of possession. Woodford will always be dangerous with the pace of their outside backs. At least Thurrock have got a foothold in this game. Caelan Watts-Adams takes that on the charge. Hard man to stop. Ben Timpson feeds James Roger again. These two are doing very well together. Tom Wildman comes into scrum half. First receiver. He pushes the ball a long way back. Woodford has 2 bites of the cherry. So Thurrock have the penalty again. So a good chance for them to exit. Another nice kick from Niall Clifford. He certainly has got his range in the second half. So once again, if Thurrock could secure the next score, this will make it a very interesting climax of the game. Lawrence Brown has been outstanding this season. Ben Timpson moves to scrum half. This goes to Watts-Adams, a wonderful left-handed take from him. Timpson gets the drive going, he's at the back of the drive. Dan Ulf is in the middle of the field, alongside his old teammate Dan Stone. Thurrock go wide once again. Callum Pluck comes to the line. Just with the line at his mercy, it seemed. Kai Holloway can't grab hold of this one, but Woodford have been given another warning about the amount of penalties they're giving away. That has given Thurrock a penalty. And in front of the posts on 26 points, it's probably worth kicking this one to bring the deficit within 5, which means a converted try would win it if Woodford failed to score again.
This is definitely becoming a very nail-biting game for Thurrock. I believe Woodford are starting to get a little bit frustrated. A bit of a high tackle there and a bit of unsportsmanlike conduct, but as long as Thurrock get this penalty kick, then they're in with a very good shot at winning this, and been a good match for Woodford today. It's been an absolutely amazing game to watch.
This time Dan Stone elects to thump that between the uprights. Doesn't take any chance with the wind, and perhaps that's the way to go. So Dan Stone brings Thurrock within 5. Once again, as ever, it's important to get the exit strategy right, and then that will give Woodford a little bit more apprehension in what they're doing. At some stage, they'll have to take a risk and throw the ball around, which is dangerous for Thurrock. Somehow they have to get back into this game now. It goes straight to Watts Adams, and he's been quite commanding with the kickoffs. Alex Jones has the ball. Thurrock is certainly driving more commitment now.
Stay clear of the field.
Now Clifford going on a dancing run in the middle of the field. Dan Stone likes to kick. And he makes amends with a tremendous tackle. The first chance Woodford have had. And they're running with real pace there. Now Kai Holwest goes scurrying back. He picks up the ball well. But there's a penalty award to Woodford in the middle of the field for offside. So Thurrock were doing really well. Looks as if Alex Jones was about to put in a box kick. Instead the ball came to Dan Stone, who kicked the ball off his left foot, thus giving the ball back to Woodford. The first opportunity they've had, they ran straight back at Thurrock, carved an opening, and Thurrock had to creep offside in order to halt the Woodford progress. So Thurrock, having got themselves in a position where they could win the game, have now allowed Woodford to come back into this match with a deficit of 5 points. So with an advantage of 5 points, Woodford now elect to kick the penalty at goal. Just seemed to be good tactics. So it's Alex Meads who's called for the tee. A fascinating game. Just when it looks as if Thurrock were right back in the match. One misplaced kick has allowed Woodford to come back into the game. Dan Stone made amends with an outstanding tackle which saved the day temporarily. Unfortunately, even though there was a shout of yes, Alexander Meads pushed that one to the left of the posts. That one southeast.
What does that mean?
Probably about 10 or 12 minutes left of the game. 10 to 12 minutes left. So now Clifford with the 22. This will be dangerous for Thurrock if Woodford run it back. Of the field initially. Would have a free ball because Thurrock have held on in that ruck. Well, they failed to roll clear. So this is the first opportunity Woodford have had to gain territorial advantage and get a foothold in the second half. We apologise for loss of vision, loss of sound for a few moments there. We had a technical hitch with our power supply. It's now been rectified by Marco. Once again, Woodford failed to capitalise, with the line-out being a little skew-if. So Thurrock desperately need to capitalise on the opportunities they've had in this game. They have a chance to win it now. They must break out their own half first of all. And Woodford will always be dangerous with the outstanding three quarters they have. Alex Jones has picked up and he's passed it back there to Dan Stoner, has cleared his lines with a lengthy kick. Once again, there's a missed tackle in the middle of the field. Yet another penalty to Woodford. So having appeared to have a stranglehold on the second half, Thurrock have now lapsed with a number of penalties going against them. A little bit of indiscipline has crept in, and that's allowed Woodford to get back into the game. It is a bit of a cliche to say the next score is important, but I think it is particularly so on this occasion. This time Woodford go for the easy option. They go at the front of the line out. And a low ball. They are rumbling forward. Thurrock will do well to keep them out. Referee has blown up. There's been injury there, and he has to stop play. In spite of the protestations from some supporters, health and safety is of paramount importance in rugby nowadays, as in all sports. As we should have been. We couldn't quite see what happened there with the injury, and we're not quite sure who it is.
You're right, Steve.
Judging by the cut of the boots, it looks like it could be Kai Holloway.
Stevens. Ed Stevens.
We're not quite sure who the injured party is. We're right at the opposite end of the ground, the camera position. It looks as if it could be Lawrence Brown. Luckily, Thurrock have Danolf, who can go on as hooker. Ed Stevens comes back onto the field. Danolf moves into hooker, having temporarily been used in the centre. Thurrock are to win this game. They need to keep Woodford out from this scrum. It's a great scrummage from Woodford. They're driving forward. Number 8 has picked up. He's come across the field. He has been held up. There's yet another penalty to Woodford coming their way. They'll be looking for more than 3 points, I would suspect. It's a good tack from Danolf. Thurrock have turned over, but we'll come back to the penalty. Woodford go for the scrum again, hoping to press home their advantage. The referee has come to this side of the field to see what's going on in the front row. Again, that's a powerful advantage to Woodford. Number 8 picks up, and this time they've not been able to hold him up. Fraser Piercy Farley has dived over as a result of that commanding scrum from the Woodford 8. Very well drilled by Ross Boshier, former Thurrock second row, who's their director of rugby. And that does push the balance in Woodford's favour now in this game. We said the next score would be very important, and Woodford have been worthy of that score. They've been camped the Thurrock line for about 10 minutes. 39 points to 29 at the moment, with a conversion to follow. And the conversion misses again. So the margin is now 10 points. And Antrobus is back on the field. Clifford drops out with his right foot. As again, Woodford get through a couple of tackles. Come blind. Woodford have been forced into touch, giving Thurrock a chance from the line out. Eddie Stevens is on the wing. It looks as if Alex Jones has gone to 10. Dan Stone at the centre. Another reshuffle in the Thurrock team. Dan Olf to his old teammate, Caelan Watts-Adams. A good throw and a good take. Dan Stone managed to pick that up. Now Clifford. Caelan Watts-Adams goes blind. Callum Pluck kicks the ball direct into touch. That's a poor option from Thurrock, unfortunately. Need to keep the ball in hand this stage of the game. There's a high tack from Ben Timpson, and he apologised immediately, which was good form. It was unintentional. That gives Ian Meads a chance to put Woodford into another attacking position. This game's petering out a little bit, Gabriella.
Yes, it's definitely been a fight for possession of the ball this half, definitely. It's amazing that Thurrock are putting up a good fight, but unfortunately Woodford seem to have found their footing again, and they're persisting as always, and yeah, they look like they're trying to aim for another try, which might be in the future very near.
After a really good start the second half, Thurrock have lost a bit of their industry and intent. They've been bogged down in their own half, and a succession of penalties has given momentum back to Woodford. Dan Stone has to clear his lines. With Woodford winding down the clock, Thurrock's opportunities to win this game seem to be dissipating. Woodford very early on managed to stretch the Thurrock defence and scored a couple of scorching tries, and Thurrock have striven to get back into the game but not quite managed to get to where they want to be. Now there's an overthrow, which means that Daniel for the back manages to catch ball. Ben Timpson now takes the ball on. So using Ahmed Aminu to come wide. He's come across the park looking for work. But yet another turnover has halted Thurrock's progress. And because of dissent, Thurrock can march back 10 metres. Stan Thurrock are frustrated, but the referee has no option than to march Thurrock back. Woodford go to their go-to plan, which is basically to scrummage Thurrock off the park. Thurrock have taken off Frank Wright, who's been the cornerstone of the scrum in some ways. It is now up to Aaron Antrobus and Tom Wildman to shore things up, with Lawrence Brown off the park as well. It's a better scrummage from Thurrock though, much better. It has wheeled around, it was much better. For opting to go blind, stopped in his tracks by Thurrock. A little feed off. Thurrock are being penalised off the park at the moment. This is very much like all rugby games about the battle of the breakdown, the collisions, and Thurrock are just losing out at the breakdown. They're going for turnovers, but hanging on too long. The referee's come down very hard on Thurrock in this area. He's now talking to Captain Ben Timpson. Very little time left now. We've got the dying embers of the game. Thurrock almost incandescent. Age, but nevertheless they shouldn't be surprised to find themselves in this position if they are continuing to make transgressions at the breakdown. So Woodford through the boot of Alexander Meads, attempting to complete this game with the victory. Longfall. Again, it's gone wide. Callum Pluck manages to take the ball. And it gives Thurrock a 22. Clifford gets on with it quite quickly. It's a big knock on in the middle of the park. It's Fraser Piercy Farley, probably his first mistake of the game.
That was an unfortunate knock-on by Woodford, but a brilliant kick by Thurrock. By the sounds of the noise on the pitch, they seem very determined to at least get one more try to even up the score a bit, which is brilliant determination from them. It's really good to see.
Of course, one more try would give them 2 bonus points. If they could get a losing bonus point within 7, and of course the 4 tries. This is a move using Ahmed Aminu. He throws a dummy, then gets the ball out wide. Kai Holloway has the ball. He has to come inside.
Come on, get up, lads, get up!
Woodford's scramble defence has been good. Tom Wildman is upended. Once again, it's Caelan Watts-Adams. Great run from him. Just ample tacked at the end. Ankle tapped. Thought come wide. Callum Pluck gets in quickly. Score that try. So at last Thurrock get the ball moving. Have some good patches of play. They eventually go wide, bringing both wingers in. Callum Pluck manages to get in the overlap and gets a try with just a few minutes remaining. This is going down to death. A really exciting game of rugby at Thurrock if you're a neutral. Not too great if you're a home fan. But at least the faithful have got something to shout about with that late try from Thurrock. To Dan Stone with the opportunity to draw the game within a couple of points. It's 39-34. Thurrock within 5.
That was an unfortunate kick, but obviously quite a difficult kick after being fatigued for so long in this game, as they have been playing well over an hour and a half now with the number of injuries that we've unfortunately had. But hopefully this may possibly be the final play, but hopefully Thurrock give it their all and Woodford also fight.
Not much long to go, and it's interesting to see whether Thurrock wait to make sure they get 2 bonus points, or whether they try and go for the win. It's probably not their DNA not to go for the win. Ben Timpson decides to have a little half break, throws the ball out. Andy McAllister has a run. Good charge from him. Was knocked on by Antrobus. That's given the ball back to Woodford. They have a chance to counter-attack their own. And they're trying to finish off the way they start the game. There's some impressive running in the middle of the field. Now there's... Now, unfortunately, there's been something of a... There's a strong tackle. I'm not sure it was late. But the referee now is trying to get a grip of the situation. In spite of Thurrock's protestations, that is the final whistle. It's been a really exciting game of rugby for the neutral. A little disappointing for Thurrock, who really want to win this game, but at least they've come away with 2 bonus points, having looked at one stage very lucky to avoid a mammoth victory from Woodford. And so on this Remembrance weekend, I would say a memorable game. A couple of injuries to both sides, causing a few problems. But Woodford had a tremendous start to the game, exciting rugby, and it scored some quite outstanding tries. Thurrock managed to restructure very well at half-time and managed to play more of an organised game. And as a result of that, they came back into the picture. Some very good tries from both teams. I thoroughly hope you enjoy this on YouTube because it has been a great game of rugby football. I'll just hand you over to Gabriella Diana now to sum up.
Oh, that was a very disappointing end to the game and not a very good show of sportsmanship from both sides. It's very, very disappointing. However, it was a fantastic game to watch, a brilliant effort from both sides. Hopefully there's a lot to learn from this game from both teams. And hopefully, not next week, but the week after when the men's play again, hopefully they'll bring back a bit more of this fight, which is amazing to see. But again, yeah, brilliant show. The score definitely reflects how difficult this game was, and that it wasn't a walkover for either team, but a brilliant effort put in from both sides.
So Thurrock have won 3 of the last 4 games. They've been defeated today, unfortunately. It was a very close encounter, and we do apologise for the slight disruption at the end, and I guess it was a case of frustration on behalf of both teams as the game drew to a close. So it's good afternoon from a darkening Oakfield. Good afternoon from Gabriella Diana, myself, and Marco Diana as well. And for those people who are keen to watch, you've got an international weekend, but at the same time, you have Thurrock Ladies tomorrow against Blackheath, away from home, and commentary team will be there tomorrow of Gabriella and Bradley Jones, along with our resident cameraman, Marco Diana, who's been putting in yet another late shift. So good afternoon from Thurrock Oakfield.